I don't know if you've started yet, but we'll go ahead and get going. So I'll kick us off in our typical fashion. So good morning and welcome back to our Shift, Sustain, and Succeed series. Last month, we kicked off our storytelling initiative, and in the last 3 weeks, we've introduced you to 3 local storytellers, Valerie Perry, Sydney Hurdle, and Rich Sayer. We have had the pleasure of meeting with a few of our members already to begin mining their stories and getting started in sharing them. So today we're going to talk about the Chamber's perspective on how we share stories and information, what makes a story, and how to reinforce your message, specifically using the platforms that we provide. I'm joined today by Ashley Sheffer. Most of you know Ashley, who is the program manager for the Chamber's Be Here initiative. So of course, if you have any questions or would like to comment on anything, we want you to submit that in the Zoom chat, and we'll do our best to make sure that we include that or that we follow up after. So to begin with, Ashley, will you start off by sharing a little bit about our strategy for how we develop our newsletter content and then share that across all the platforms that we have here at the Chamber?
Sure. First, you can hear me, right?
We can.
Okay, with the technical difficulties, I also have a new webcam, so I wanted to make sure it was working. So at the Chamber, we kind of use our newsletter as a way to collect stories, but then we share those elsewhere. So our strategy is to put the articles in the newsletter and then take those and then put them on our blog and share them on social media and then wherever else we can. But newsletter content itself isn't necessarily an advertisement, it's more of a story. So as we've been talking about stories, it's news, it's anniversaries, it's when people come to us something, we try to not just share the facts, but figure out how can we engage people and make this more of a story. So we're using the Oil Region Library Association as an example, as you can see here in the slides. So on the left, we shared just a short article about how they're changing some things in with COVID and the online resources. And then the top right is on our blog, which we then link to our social media. So it's kind of a process where we don't just put it in one place. We try to share it multiple places so we can get the story out as much as we can. So that being said, as I said, newsletter articles are different than advertising. So back to you, Susan. We often talk about how it's not the same thing, advertising and stories. So can you kind of explain this?
Sure, and that's a conversation we have with members a lot, because really, if you looked back a couple of years ago at one of our newsletters, largely it was a collection of our formal advertising, but also a lot of articles that were simply telling people, here's what we did, here's the facts of something that happened, or here's something we're going to do. And what we found was we weren't necessarily inspired by those facts. What we really want to know is why. Why is that happening? How does that event you're holding, or this great thing you did, how does that connect me to your mission and inspire me to want to attend or do something else? But there's still a place for advertising. So when you look at these advertisement, what we would call more of an advertisement, it's more like just the facts. We want to get that quick information out that people need to be able to access really quickly. The story, which then we use in an article, should really be that thing that we use to connect people and inspire people. And I know that
so that being said, is there a way still to?
Oh, lost you, Ashley. I would say that you always want to connect your advertising and your storytelling. So for one thing, consistency, I'm sure we'll talk about that some, but you always want to make sure that that those two things are consistent. So you'll see a lot of times where we'll have someone that will do maybe an insert in the newsletter, but then somewhere in the newsletter, there will be an article that will give more of that background of what the event or that either was held or is going to be held is about the initiative, whatever is going on.
So that being said, did I freeze for a minute? Sorry. How can a story then be used? How can a story then be used to inspire sale or investment?
Well, I think that everybody wants to know your mission. You know, they want to know that the things that we are doing are supporting a mission that you're excited about. And that's where we're really trying to get to stories. And, you know, depending on whether we're talking about an organization, I think a lot of you that are in attendance today work for organizations. So it's a corporate kind of story and mission that goes back to the mission of the organization. But most of the people that we've met with so far in storytelling are small businesses. And their stories are often going to be more about a personal story, you know, the origin of the business or what inspired someone to get involved in a business. So how does that link to advertising, and why is it important to buy the things you have? Because I think people want to support individuals. They want to support what our businesses get excited about. So that's where we're trying to mine the stories, but you still need to connect that to the advertisement that gives you the end game of what's going on. Okay, Ashley, there are some other places that we use stories, and I'm going to let you share here. They include our Be Here website. So can you tell us about opportunities on the Be Here website?
Yeah, absolutely. So we get a lot of people who come to us with events and jobs. And while this is news, this is important to their business or their organization, it's not always something that we share just as a newsletter article. So that's why we created 2 ways to share both of these things. So we have a job board on the Be Here website, which is beherevenango.org. And we also have our events calendar. So as you see here, there's a job listing to the left, and on the bottom right is an example of an event. So this is a way, Be Here is an initiative focused on creating a more positive narrative about the area. So this is a way where you can access things going on, opportunities, and really get to know Venango County better. And then with that, we also share, I'm gonna go to the next slide. Testimonials on our Be Here site. So you can see Dan Flaherty here at the library is up top. We know it's important to share stories of businesses, but it's also important to share stories of those people within those businesses. So Susan, can you share a little bit about why the stories of individual representatives of a business and organization are important to share too?
Oh, for sure. I think, particularly at a time like this where we are trying to inspire people to invest by living in our community, whether they're returning or they're staying, or we're trying to attract. People want to live in communities where they are around other people that share their values, that share the kind of life they want to lead, people that they trust, and that can provide them with the resources that they need. And it's in these stories that you really communicate that you are part of a greater community. So I think it's really important to learn more about each other. And so we've loved this. It's also, from our perspective, it's been a great way to get to know the people in our community, which means we get to know the organizations they represent and the businesses that they serve. So it's really been, been great. And we do it across a lot of platforms. So Ashley sharing here, Be Here, you see the flex profiles, we've got the bios from Leadership Venango, and it all connects us back to the larger story of us.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to how we talk about that we're all just people, and people want to get to know the people behind the business organization. They feel so much more connected to you. So something new we're looking at doing, our first is on November 24th with Primary Health Network, but we've been doing these virtual series for over the past 6 months, and we're offering opportunity for business and organizations to do a virtual town hall. So it's a way to have a virtual meeting hosted by the chamber focused on a specific topic. So this is a fake slide right now that we made, but it would look something like that, where it's a meeting like this with a specific organization. So Susan, can you share a little bit about our vision with that and what's going to look like?
Sure. Well, of course, this Shift, Sustain, Succeed series was our really quick response to COVID. And we started off very specific to things that were COVID related when it came to funding, when it came to healthcare, when it came to sanitization, and then kind of shifted through a bit into the Sustain and Succeed. And so I think now that we're all comfortable with the technology, this was kind of born of of a request by an organization to say, hey, can we do one of those? And we said, well, we're kind of wrapping up this series, but maybe there's another opportunity, particularly for those businesses or organizations that maybe who hasn't participated in a Zoom call or a virtual meeting, but maybe haven't hosted them, and would like our help and our help in directing the conversation. Not so much so that we control it, but that we give our organizations and businesses a platform to share some of the information they want. We've long received requests for people that want to address our membership, and you all know us very well. We just don't have big open meetings on a regular basis. And the ones that we do have tend to be pretty planned, where they could last for hours. But it really gives us a place where we can conduct, just kind of half an hour opportunity for people to talk about some things they'd like to share. And, if 2 people come, great. If 20 people come, that's fine too. But everything's recorded and out there for people to watch at their convenience. So we're excited to offer the opportunity. We will probably try to limit those to about 1 a month, a little bit like our mixer, just to keep the staff sane. So that's really kind of what we're looking at. Yeah. So Ashley, I think I have a question for you here, or no, you're next.
I'm next. So with all of these changes recently, we've all dealt with challenges, some technical issues, which we had a little bit of this morning, but other is just moving these in person more in face-to-face connections online, things like mixers and TED Talks and leads groups and things like that. There's a lot of challenges that come with that. Do you have any advice for people to overcome these?
Sure. Well, I don't know if it's advice, but it's certainly something I'd love to talk about. And this may be, since we have lots of time, it might be a nice chance for us even to unmute everybody and allow us to have a little bit of conversation, because I think we all have a bit of Zoom fatigue, virtual meeting fatigue, but at the same time, we're all being forced back inside again. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling lonely faster this time than last time. So I think it really begs, is there an opportunity for us to be meeting, if not more often, at least more intentionally, and particularly around those different things that we did in the past? So mixers were a chance to kind of network and reconnect. So is there a chance to do something like that occasionally, where we can just get to see each other? More focused ones included, we were doing tech talks. And boy, it might be a really good time to do a tech talk again, because even in the last couple of days, I've been trying to figure out some technology to get through some of the things we have coming up. Is it a good time to start bringing us together to say, okay, what worked and what didn't work and what can we do different? And then, of course, leads group is really more intentional networking. So there may be other things. So, hey, John, you threw a question in the chat. Why don't we unmute you and let you just ask it if you don't mind?
Oh, good morning, everyone. No, I was just curious. You have a lot of moving parts to this, and it seems like they're meshing together very nicely. How has the feedback been to it now that and I know it's a building process? And then what are you guys using as your metrics to, is it increase followers on Facebook, or what are your metrics that you guys are utilizing to see that more people are engaging or at least looking at all of these efforts?
Well, I'll give you my thoughts on it, and then I'd ask Ashley to throw hers in too, because she would be more my metrics watcher probably than I am. But really what inspired us to start the storytelling was the fact that we've experienced all the time where we talk to small businesses who have really gotten kind of apathetic about what they do. They're just doing the job. Mm-hmm. And when we start talking to them and asking them the right questions, or giving them some of the things that excite us about their business, we see a new energy. And that's already been the case in the three businesses that we've met with so far. So it's a slow start, to be sure. Mm-hmm. But for me, if the outcome is that I've simply encouraged our businesses to be more thoughtful about what makes them show up for work every day, and how they're communicating that not only to the outside world, but to their own staff and employees and families, then it's a win for me. Would I love to have the majority of our members and even other businesses that might be inspired to participate do this? Yep, I would. But if we impact 5 businesses who just feel better about what they do every day, I think there's a ripple effect that happens when we do that. So Ashley, your thoughts on the metrics within maybe?
As far as metrics, I don't think it's so much as like what our metrics are. It goes to the businesses because we're just trying to get them to learn how to tell their story. So depending on in which way they're telling that, like we here look at things like how many people open our emails and the social media insights, but we're trying to encourage businesses to get their story out there in those different ways and encourage them to look at their metrics because our goal is to help them tell their own story.
I think one of the other things that happens for us is it can be, we've talked with our storytellers about this, that it's we're being vulnerable here. We may have an idea that other people don't really buy into, but I can tell you that already the internal conversations that Ashley, and when Tess is back with us, we've been having these conversations for a long time. So how it impacts us as we approach our businesses is part of the story. And we've had some great meetings already with our 3 storytellers who I think are so on board with this, and we'll go through the process ourselves too. Mm-hmm. So we'd like to take others along for the ride because we think it's valuable, but that's kind of, you know, what we're hoping for, John.
That, you know, and I wasn't specifically saying, you know, I know the storytelling initiative is mm-hmm. new, but do you guys think that, and I have my own opinions, but with some of our businesses that and I think, Susan, you hit it right on the head of just going through the motions, so to speak. But I think there were some of those that were pre-COVID.
Yeah.
In my view, you know, and you can tell it. You can tell when you walk into a business, and I have done that. In fact, you know, the voting day kind of, you know, went voted and then walked around to some of the shops just to, you know, I hadn't been in some for a long period of time. And you can tell the ones that are excited about their business, and you can tell the ones that are just, you know, if you want to buy something, fine. If you don't, I really don't care, you know. And then you have these folks that say, well, why do I not have any business, or why, you know, there's not any pizzazz, I suppose, and that, so that really hit home.
You've got that perfect, and that's why it's important for people to know that we didn't just think this up during COVID. We've been talking about doing something. We just kind of didn't know what it would be for probably a couple of years. There have been some unique opportunities that COVID gave us. And one of them was just kind of the timing to do this, and our storytellers, you know, us reconnecting with them. But I think one of the challenges is going to be, where do we focus more? Do we, we've had some people come to us, but we fully expect that we'll want to go to some businesses too and say, hey, you want to participate? Where do we focus? Do we focus on the ones that we know are already working really hard, but we think we can like give them even another bump? Mm-hmm. Or do we spend a lot of energy trying to get those apathetic businesses engaged? I'm not sure it's the best use of time, you know, or energy. That'll be part of our process. So I don't know where, you know, anybody that listens, you know, is participating or listens to this will sit in that. But as we've been telling people, the investment is small. You know, it's a half an hour conversation with Ashley and I to start. Right. So, you know, if you, I would challenge that if you do that and you can't find any way to get excited about your business, boy, I'd be thinking about why I'm showing up for work every day. We think that there's a lot of good stuff that can help people feel more inspired about what they do. So I hope this will help them.
No, that's excellent. You know, I think it's a great program.
Thanks, John. And when I see that, you know, that there's at least a couple from your team here, you know, we know that part of what inspires us about the Oil Region Alliance is knowing your team and knowing that the passion that the people within the organization have for what they do, what their role is. And again, that's another example of how the individual stories make up the corporate story of the organization, and one that we can get really excited about it.
Yeah, and trust me, I mean, I'm not throwing any rocks at glass houses by any means with our businesses. I mean, we all have hard times to stay motivated and you know, get up, you know, put the tie on, get dressed, go to the office. And, I think all of us at points in time, but the nice thing about my team is that we tend to, I just have to talk to one of them about their projects, and that kind of re-inspires me for what's going on.
Oh, for sure. Well, we're the same way. We have plenty of days we come in and like, just give us some coffee and some time. So
Big cup of
we,
coffee. So.
yeah, so we know that connecting around our stories is really a great opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and any of the others have some thoughts to share? Oh, Ashley?
I was just going to say, I put the screen up here that we would love to meet with anyone here. So we're still scheduling those meetings and having those conversations.
Yep. And there's a little bit of a process that we go through too. Maybe I can explain a little bit about that. We start with an interest form. So anyone that is interested in participating, all they have to do is start by saying, hey, maybe I want to do this. And then we send them an email that gives them a couple resources that we think are really helpful to look at. If they look at those and never contact us again, that's fine. But if not, but if they want to move forward, then the next step is we say, oh, and here's how you actually schedule a meeting with us. So we have a scheduling program. You can go right in, pick a time off of our calendar that you want to meet with us. And then the next step is we either have a virtual or in person. We've done both meeting, and we kind of talk through those resources we gave you and kind of try to dig in and find out a little bit about your story. Then the next step is to introduce you to one of the storytellers. Question there was, do you have to be a chamber member? We do want to prioritize chamber members first. So Amy, we'd be happy to talk with you if you have someone in mind that you think needs to participate, but hoping that we'll get a lot of engagement, that this does take a time investment, and we have some financial investment too. We are prioritizing chamber members. So that next step then is that we introduce you to a storyteller, and during our visit with you, Ashley and I, we may tell you where we think is a good place to start, but we'll definitely respect your choice of where you want to start. And then we have learned already that we probably need a little bit of an opportunity for you to talk to the storyteller before meeting with them. So whether that is a phone call, a Zoom call, or maybe you're building a little more time into your visit with them. And then we have a menu of choices you can use the storytellers for. Some people may want, just some kind of an article. They may want some website content. They may want a little help and guidance with their social media. They may need photos. We all struggle with great photos for our websites, our social media, to accompany articles. Business Review and Forecast is coming up really soon, and we all kind of try to figure out what to do for that. So having some inventory of pictures that you can pull for those kind of things. And then on the video side, we've got Val, and possibly Sydney can help us with some of that in the future too. I know she's very capable of doing that. And also one of the other things that Valerie can help with is presentations. So if you're someone that either frequently is asked to do presentations and would like to kind of up your game on that, or you rarely are, but know it's something you should be better at, she'd be happy to help you. She counseled speakers for National Geographic. We all would like to be better speakers, better prepared to take the stage, whether we have notice or not. So there's a whole menu of things that you can choose from when it comes to these storytelling. And then what we're truly hoping is this is just a jump start. So we can't build out your storytelling in every way, but we can get you thinking more about it and provide you some resources that hopefully will help you really start to and your story will change. I was going to say, start to get to know your story and then develop that over time. Any other questions or comments that anyone would like to offer? So go to our storytelling page at venangochamber.org. Take a look. Don't be scared. See if there's time to talk with us. And we're really okay if you even get to the point where you talk with Ashley and I and say, well, this is interesting. I'm not going to do it, but it was nice to talk to you. So we're okay with that. There's no, again, with no cost to you other than time, there's lots of opportunities for an out if you don't want to pursue. But if you do, I think that you'll get more excited about what you do every day And I think that you'll find ways to help others get more excited about what they do every day. So thank you for joining us today. Next week, we are going to be back here again, and that will be Ashley and I again. And next week, we're going to talk about the importance of having, knowing your what, kind of your good information and all the platforms where you should be making sure that your address and your contacts and your hours of business and all of that kind of thing are. So Ashley's way better at that than me. So it may be me interviewing her the whole time, but we're going to talk about that and hopefully make it easier for all of us to make sure that we are communicating good information on the right platforms and doing so without spending a lot of money. So we'll hope to see you back here next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great day. Bye-bye.